from the House of Kung Fu from a master's traditional martial arts perspective. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about more about the UFC last event. There was some really good fights, outstanding strikers. Strikers Night, and so I'm a little bit biased, and really liking that because I'm as a striker myself. Um, there is a new potential fight of the year possibly happening very soon, and to me, this is going to be um, one of the best fights to ever come out that year, in my opinion. Whenever it does decide to happen, between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, they were both showcased on the last event, and of course there are going to be some words exchanged because if you guys don't know, they fought before in Glory Kickboxing, and one of the losses on Israel's outstanding record. He only has two losses. I know one of them was to Alex Pereira, and it was by knockout as well. And then Dana White's a genius, putting both of them on the same card on the same night, and so close to get us wanting for more. And it worked on me for sure. I can't wait to see this fight because they're already exchanging verbal jabs and crosses. And Israel, I think this will be Israel's true test to see where he stands in the UFC Hall of Fame and in his career. I don't think these are the other fights he's had. Yeah, every fighter, when you get to that stage in martial arts, are good. None of them are scrubs. But to avenge a loss, and not only to avenge a loss where you got knocked out, right? And he wasn't just knocked out. You need to go and watch it, right? He looked like he was being baptized, right? That's how bad he got knocked out, and you know, to avenge that, I think the only way is to knock the guy out and completely outclass him. So if I wanted to do a kind of like a mini breakdown of both of those fighters' fights in the last event, there is some heat and some speculation on Israel's performance. I'll kind of touch in a little bit on those from a traditional martial artist perspective. Someone who actually fights, has been in fights in real life, and in competitions. So here's my quick perspective. Israel did what he was supposed to do. He won the fight. He also, not only did he win the fight, he put on a great performance, coming out with the Undertaker, and all, Vince McMahon and all of them were there, and he put on a show. To be honest, I think that he yet again got exposed. I think he got exposed again in a certain sense. Even though he won the fight, I think he got exposed the same way he got exposed when he went up against that Cuban fighter. Can't really remember his name right now, but Izzy has a hard time in the flow state, and you may not think he does because he's so good with his feints, right? He's too dependent on his reach. I don't think he's really reached that level where you can do other things except for relying on your reach and your speed. Those are God-given talents or attributes. Of course, you can always work on those things, but I think he's becoming a little bit too reliant on it. And if you really watch the fight, go back to watch the fight around the late third or the fourth round, Killer Gorilla really started to figure him out. He just didn't have enough gas in the tank, right? He was fighting between using his mind and just what the body could do at that moment. He was already worn out. You can only watch so much tape, when you're in there and you got all the pressure and all the people watching you, and all, you can barely hear your coaches. It's a little bit different, right? So even though Israel won the fight, I think that Killer Gorilla yet exposed Izzy again, like Izzy was exposed a little bit with Whitaker fight. Even though he won the Whitaker fight, his style was exposed, right? He can't do a shootout like how Mayweather can dodge and strike and dodge and strike, kind of like how they do in a Dragon Ball Z fight, right? Defend, strike, defend, strike. You know, a lot of people can only go on 2 beats, boom, 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 boom. Now a lot of people can do 4, 5 to 6 beats in a matter of seconds. Defend, step back, boom, 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 boom. You know, that takes a lot of mental discipline, and you got to have good footwork, and you can't afraid to be inside the pocket, right? In order to do that. And I don't think Israel's pocket presence is as good where it needs to be, right? Now with Alex Pereira's performance, my goodness, he gave me that 1990s Mike Tyson type of feel. Only when he walked to the ring, his presence when he just stood there, and the way he knocked him out, right? It wasn't like a crazy flash KO or both of the guys were striking, and you just happened to hit him and knock him down, right? He set that up, right? You're dealing with a really good striker when they don't rely on attributes. They set you up. So you have a real dangerous fighter who can set it up and use his attributes, right? And if you saw the way Alex Pereira KO'd this dude, the guy was coming real aggressive and forward, and you were thinking like, whoa, is this guy gonna get overwhelmed, right? But when he knocked him out, we have the audience didn't even see it coming, right? And if you really watch, you can really tell when a big punch is about to come, like something's about to happen, right? But with this guy, it was just and then bam, right? It wasn't a whole lot of wind up, a whole lot of twerk. It was in the middle of a shootout, right? To knock somebody out in a shootout, flat cold is indicative of high skill, right? And the fact that he did it on an odd angle, right? When he was dodging the punch, to knock somebody out while you're moving and dodging and still keep your coordination and your balance, right? And keep your eye on your opponent, it's not easy to do, right? And he's even more dangerous because you think he's open when he's really not, right? It's kind of like what Goku did one time at the tournament in Dragon Ball. He was facing this guy and he had a stance when both his arms were just out, right? And then the audience is like, he's open, why isn't he attacking? But the guy knew like he's totally covered, right? And that's kind of what Mayweather does. When he boxes, he'll leave a pocket open. And it's almost like he's luring you in like a bait, right? And this is kind of what this guy does. And I think that Israel is going to have to be very careful because Izzy relies so much on his fast twitch and his reach. This guy is like a sniper or a shark, right? And he'll pretend to be the bait. From what I saw, he pretended to be the bait. And he had a trap laid down like a ninja. All right, so Israel is going to have to be very careful. This is going to be a very good fight. This is going to be a very tactical fight. And I don't think it'll be one of those instances where you have two great fighters collide and their skills kind of like outmatch one another. Kind of like how we have with Pacquiao and Mayweather, right? I think this will be a little bit different because this Perrira guy goes in to really, really hurt you. And, and a lot of people don't have that killer instinct, right? Izzy's a good fighter, but, I'm not saying he doesn't have that killer instinct. There's something missing for him to not oppose his will and not knock out his opponent. That's not what I'm saying, but to, like, put fear in his opponent. And this is where I have one of Izzy's criticism of his last fight. He could have knocked out and finished Killer Gorilla, right? It's not like one of those things where Izzy was waiting for a while to, to just run out the fight or whatever. There was a block. Something happened, and there was a block in his mind where he couldn't do what he wanted to do. But he was so ahead of the scorecards, and the guy was already tired that he ended up winning the fight. So I think this is going to be a really good fight. I think this will be the potential to be fight of the year when that happens. And if you had to ask me right now who's going to win, I'm going to say Perrira, man, because that guy, it's like not only is he scary and he has all the tattoos, looks like a super gangster cholo. I ain't trying to be racist, even though he is Brazilian. He looks like that gangster dude, the Latino gangster who you don't want to fuck with. But he's smart and he has crafty and he's patient, right? He's like a patient predator waiting to just spring it up. And I think Izzy is going to be a little bit too flamboyant, and his quick twitch will turn into fidgetness and jumpiness. I think he's going to jump a lot, probably prematurely, in a shootout, right? And I think that Izzy's going to get caught. Has been caught in the last few of his fights. He's taking risks, which is cool. I mean, you got to do that to sell yourself, but I don't think Izzy is going to take a lot of risks. And I think it's going to be a lot of jumpiness because Perrira and his stoic scariness is going to remind him of what happened and the youth and the I'm not going to say immature because he's a grown man, he's doing this thing, but I think the immaturity and the fighting prowess will show when you go on up against a grown ass man who's already hurt you before and has the will, the intent in his eyes to kill you. And that's very different, okay? All right, so make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe, and on me tougher.